So welcome to the Rural Woman's Guide to Patience. We are going to be talking all about patience today, and I can tell you that I have definitely needed to draw on the virtue of patience a lot this month, mostly with myself. But as you know, the Rural Woman stands for thriving, healing and evolving, and it's both a mantra and a mission for us. We're aspiring to serve millions of rural women across the globe to bloom where they're planted. And what we're creating is a place where you as a rural woman can gather to find your voice, to share your wisdom, to be inspired, to contribute to the conversation and to learn and grow. And one of the ways we do that is through our online webinars, videos, and of course we're always talking about the virtues. So I love the saying there, don't ask yourself what the world needs, ask yourself what makes you come alive and go and do that. Because what the world needs is more people who come alive. And that's very much our calling here at the Rural Woman, is to empower people, rural women, to go and find out what makes them come alive and then to support them to go and do that. So we contribute in lots of different ways. We've got our website, vrw.biz. We've got our monthly podcast called Connections and Conversations. And in the coming future, we're going to be launching the Rural Woman's Eye magazine. And just this week, we launched the Global Online Event Festival of the Rural Woman, which is a really exciting 30-plus speaker 4-day event culminating on International Rural Women's Day on the 15th of October. We are catalysing change for rural women by providing coaching and mentoring and thought leadership, and we do that in a number of ways through our Enlivened Life program, through public speaking, and soon to launch our Staying Local, Growing Global campaign. So what we're going to do today is inspire a turning point, call out scarcity, empower you with the belief that you're enough, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I want you to just, as we always do in our webinars, in our monthly calls with our members, we want you to just create the sacred space for yourself right now. I don't know about you, but today's been an epic day for me, and I've been pulled and pushed in all sorts of directions. I've had to keep reminding myself that there's always enough time and that there's always enough energy and that I'm okay and that it's safe for me to change, and all of those sorts of lessons I've drawn on today, and patience most definitely. So it's really important that we come together in this sacred space and that we are present. For me, it's important that I'm present so that you get the best value out of this time together, and for you it's the same, for you to be present. So create some space for yourself. Make sure you're sitting comfortably and safely, and that you're really in the moment and that you're paying attention. Turn off distractions, find yourself a space. This is your time. And the other thing I want you to do is set your intention. So what is it that you want to achieve out of this hour? Is it just time for yourself? Is it a particular insight, or is it help with a particular issue that you might be having? What's your intention? Is it literally just to zone out and to hear some wisdom and be open to the possibilities that wisdom will bring to your life? We want to approach all of our learning with curiosity and light-hearted wonderment. And we say this to all of the rural women that we connect with. Sometimes we make life hard. Sometimes we believe life and growth and learning and development and thriving, healing and evolving needs to be hard. And so we want to encourage rural women to lead with curiosity and with light-hearted wonderment, and to approach their personal development with those same mindsets. So find yourself a curious place. Get open, get curious. Be light-hearted, don't be heavy-hearted. So allow that lightness to creep into your being today. We're going to learn, reflect and grow together. And for me, these webinars are so important for the growing journey. So it's about putting myself out there in new ways. It's about finding new content. It's about really refining the message of the rural woman and what we're trying to achieve. So for me, it's an opportunity to learn and grow and reflect. And no doubt it is for you also. So we're going to challenge you to think about some things differently today, to offer you some skills and support. And obviously we're going to give you some strategies. Strategies to overcome stress, but also strategies to implement patience in your life. So because that's the virtue we're going to explore and dig around in today. That's what we've been focusing on all month. And I love the Napoleon Hill quote there that says, patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. And I think that's very wise and sage advice from Napoleon Hill, who of course is one of the great writers in business leadership and development. So what is patience? Well, when I started to look this up, I saw lots and lots of Google images saying patience is a virtue. And I had lots of memories also from my life of where I've used that saying, patience is a virtue, but use it more as a throwaway line, as a flippant comment, because to be honest, throughout my life, I've probably been one of the most impatient people that I've ever met. And so for me, it was a reminder, it was a flippant reminder, you know, to focus on patience. But I never really paid much attention to it until the Rural Woman, until we started to really dive into these virtues. So what is patience then? If it's more, of course it's a virtue, but it's more than just a virtue. Being strong enough to let go and patient enough to wait for what you desire. That's what patience is. So being strong enough to let go and patient enough to wait for what you desire. I think patience sometimes gets misconstrued as this thing where it's about inactivity and just sitting around and waiting for stuff to happen. And I don't see it that way at all. I see it as exactly what that sentence says, being strong enough to let go. So I'm setting my intention, I have a plan, but I'm letting go of the how, and I'm being patient for what I desire to come along. But it still means you're taking action. It's not sitting around. It's just knowing that every step, every moment leads you to where it is that you're going and what it is that you're desiring. The other thing patience is being present in the moment. I think I often find that as a really useful tool when I'm driving, because I do a lot of travelling and I spend a lot of time in the car, and I do get impatient to get home or to get where it is that I'm going, and especially on long trips, you know, when I'm driving 8 to 10 hours. But I find if I bring myself back to the moment, you know, notice the trees that I'm driving past, notice the scenery, pay attention to the words I'm listening to in the book or the song that's playing on the radio. If I bring myself back to the moment, patience is a very powerful tool, and that's what patience is. Patience is being present in the moment. Patience is also allowing the process of life. So it's not about forcing something or trying to, you know, stranglehold it into your control and the way that you see it to be, but just allowing the process of life to unfold, being clear on your intent, knowing what it is that you're desiring, but allowing it to unfold. I think patience is also being willing to wait for the learning or the lesson. And of course it's seeing things that show up in our life as a learning or a lesson. So patience is that willingness to rest, that willingness to wait, that willingness to be okay in the moment and allow what's coming to come in the right time and space sequence. And that's what Louise Hay says patience is. She says, I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And I think that's such a wonderful advice. It's such a reminder. And, you know, even just today I got a call that for an event that I don't host, but I'm a supporter on, that they needed me to come urgently because something had happened. You know, I had to cancel meetings this afternoon and go out and just be out there. And instead of being all, you know, stressed and upset and impatient with the whole thing, I just really leaned into patience. I leaned into Louise Hay's message. I'm in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And you just have to believe that, even when it feels like the opposite, which it did for me today. It really felt like the opposite. It felt like I am in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing. I should be doing all these other things. But no, I just leaned into the patience as a virtue, knowing that I was in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And I think that is such a powerful place to get yourself to when you're in a high stress environment, or you're being pushed and pulled in all directions and probably not feeling like you're in the right place at the right time. It's a great mantra. So how does impatience show up for you? Well, it shows up as feelings of frustration, of strain and pain in the neck and shoulders. It shows up as tension in relationships. It shows up as things not working out for you. You know, when you rush a job and things go wrong. It shows up in withdrawal. I know for myself, when I get impatient with doing things that might end up in injury, you know, I kick my foot, or I hit my hand, or I slip or fall. You know, when you're impatient and you're not in that moment, it's very easy for you to cause yourself an injury or a disservice. I know in February last year I was very impatiently rushing to pack my car for a week-long residential program that I was running in Bellingen, and you know, I was packing the car with the last minute things. It was dark, it was 5:30 in the morning, and I was impatient and I was rushing, and of course what happened was I slipped on the bottom step of my house and broke my foot. So then what had to happen was my husband had to take me to the hospital, I had to get x-rays, my husband had to drive me half of the way because of course it was the foot that I couldn't drive with, and then my dad had to meet me halfway. Like, you know, it was this cascade effect, and it all ended up being okay, but it was all stemmed from impatience. If I just slowed down a bit, if I'd just been in the moment, if I'd just been willing to wait and to be a bit more patient with myself and the activity that needed to occur, I probably wouldn't have broken my foot. So that's another way that impatience shows up. It can show up as withdrawal. It can show up as the repeat cycle of negative talk. So it's that the stuff that we tell ourselves that I'm pretty sure we would never say out loud to anybody else because it is so negative. But that's impatience. It's impatience with yourself. It's impatience with what's going on. It might be negative talk, thinking about somebody else because they're not doing something in the way that you want them to be doing it, or in the time frame you want them to be doing it. It can show up as exhaustion, because it is exhausting being impatient. It is far less exhausting to be in the moment and to just be knowing you're in the right place at the right time. Impatience can show up as throwing your hands in the air in frustration. It's rushing for an inferior outcome. It's making poor decisions. I'm thinking about this whole, you know, impatience at the moment, and thinking about that in the context of the rural woman. You know, we've got this festival coming up. We've got coaches running Enlivened Life program. We've got a new program that I've just launched all out there. There's a lot of activity going on, but nothing seems to be happening in the exact way that I want it to. And that can lead to frustration. It can lead to impatience. And all of the lists of things that we've just gone through start to happen. You know, physical pain, you get stressed, you start taking it out on other people. It's just this very cataclysmic kind of flow-on effect. Whereas if I just lean into the moment and I just trust my instinct, and I just trust that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, then I know that those other things are just going to flow. Those other things I'm impatient for at the moment are just going to flow. And you know what? This is something that we need to learn. This is, for most people I have ever met and come across, this is not instinctive necessarily. It's something that we need to learn. And in fact, impatience is something that we've also learned as programmed behaviour, because we see people around us being impatient. We see our family members, our friends, our colleagues from a very, very young age. We're surrounded by this impatience. And I think as we get, as we move forward in this century, the busyness, the rushing, the do of the landscape almost forces impatience in some ways as well. We're raising impatient generations of people. And so I think, this is a very, very real challenge in our life that we can either ignore at our peril, or we can start to identify, to unearth it, and to start to heal through it and build new programs and patterns into our life. So, ladies, is there any way that impatience shows up for you that I haven't spoken about that resonates? If you want to pop your hand up, please do, and just I'll get back to you and see if there's anything you wanted to contribute. Press number 1 if you want to pop your hand up. But it's such a big thing, impatience. So what is it costing you not to apply patience? So what is it costing you to live in the sphere of impatience? Well, it's costing you the living of life on purpose and in flow. And I know for myself that when I live impatiently and when I act impatiently, the flow just goes out of my life. Everything just feels hard again, and it feels like it's forced and controlled, and it doesn't feel like it gets that beautiful flow happening. It's also costing ease and grace. So it's costing that genuine life is easy. And again, let me just reiterate, patience is not about sitting around doing nothing. It's about being in the moment, and it's about living life in flow. I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. That's just easy. If you carry with you that belief, it makes everything easy and graceful. It's costing us all a healthy and whole life. So when we're out of kilter, even if it is just a sense of impatience with our family members, for instance, then you feel, that your health is suffering, feeling of wholeness and really showing up as yourself. Really, it's a price to pay. And there's lots of things we can look at. There's lots of virtues to apply. There's lots of areas in our life to consider, but that obviously makes up a healthy and whole life. But patience is a big part of it. And in our members call the other night, we did talk about impatience as being one of, that we tend to be more patient with people that we don't know or don't know as well than we are with our family and loved ones and those that are close to us. We tend to somehow lose our filter of patience or lose our ability of patience with our family and friends. And that just, to me, that says that this is a learned behaviour, that impatience is a learned behaviour, as is patience, and that when we're around people we don't really know, we put on a bit of air and grace, and so we're sort of forcing patience rather than allowing it to be just or teaching ourselves to have it as a natural part of who we are. And I think, having this virtue out of kilter, living in impatience, not in patience and flow, it's really costing us everything that we want. It's that missing link. It's one of those missing links for us. And that if we can continue to remind ourselves to apply that virtue, then we're going to see a whole bunch of amazing opportunity and life just unfold before us. So what we want is a life of energy and vitality. That's what we're looking for. So it's fine to talk about the things we don't want, and we're very, very clear on that. But what we love to empower women with through the Rural Woman is to decide what it is that you do want. So we know we don't want to be impatient. We know we want to be patient. What is it that we want patience for? We want patience for a life of energy and vitality. We want to manifest all of our desires. We want all of the areas of our life to flow. We want stress to be a thing of the past. We want to live in alignment. We want to feel complete. We want to feel as if everything is just happening in the right time and space sequence. We want that ability to be in the moment. We want that. We want to be able to just enjoy each and every opportunity as it presents itself, knowing that it's exactly the right thing that's happening. That's what we want, and that's what we want, and we want to intend for ourselves as we go through this workshop. So those of you who have been on a webinar before will know that we're speaking to basic principles, and you'll start to get used to seeing some of the stuff that we talk about, because all of the virtues, they're all very different and they bring something different to our lives, but we can speak to them in a very similar way. And these are the principles that I base all my coaching and all my own personal development on. And that is that our beliefs become our thoughts, and our thoughts become our emotions become the language that we speak, and the language becomes our behaviour, and our behaviour leads to our outcome. And so if you've got messed up stuff going on around your beliefs or your thoughts, which often we do with impatience, then it's going to have a negative impact, a negative flow on all the way through to the outcome. And in many ways, it's a ground-up approach that we need to apply in thriving, healing and evolving, and starting to overcome some of the limits in our life so that we can live more freely. It's a bit like thinking about community development. You know, they're always talking about communities being developed in a much better way if it comes from the ground up rather than the top down. So if we think about it in that same way, that what we need to be starting to heal and work through and reprogram are our beliefs and our thoughts first, so it has a positive flow on through to the outcome, rather than trying to change the outcome or our behaviour and working backwards. It's an awkward process, and it's, in many instances, it becomes a false positive. So what I see very often and hear very often is women that are saying to me, oh, but I'm always saying positive things, right? So they're saying, I'm always trying to be positive out in the world and I say positive things. But they're still getting crap show up in their life that isn't serving them or they don't like or is actually causing them pain or damage or harm. So if we just try and change the language, we've got all of the things before that, emotions, thoughts and beliefs, that aren't being impacted at all, and you're really only changing the behaviour and the outcome. So you've still got these negative underlying things driving the outcome. So you end up with maybe a short-term change, but not necessarily the long-term change that we might be really looking for in our outcome. Because if you start way back at beliefs and you start to reprogram negative beliefs to positive ones, negative thoughts to positive thoughts, you start to, just naturally, without even having to, much like a waterfall in life, you start to have this cascade effect. So the water sits at the top of the waterfall. When there's enough volume, it starts to trickle over the edge and it forms the pool at the bottom. That's the outcome of the water at the top. So the beliefs, if we feed the positivity into the beliefs, there's this beautiful natural cascading effect that starts to impact the other things down the line and, of course, ultimately impact the outcome. So what we want to be doing is starting at the bottom, and there are some simple steps. So I've got about 16 to 20 steps that I apply at various times throughout the change process. These are just 7 of them, but they're very, very important 7, particularly in thinking about applying patience. So we're going to start with awareness, then we go to responsibility, we talk about patterns and we look at detox, and then we think about boundaries and inspired action. So the first step to alleviating impatience is to know yourself. And the first step to that is developing a keen awareness of yourself, both physically, emotionally and spiritually. So you want to ask yourself, what am I impatient with? What am I impatient about? Why am I rushing? In what areas of my life am I most impatient? When am I impatient? What am I thinking when I'm being impatient? How do I feel impatient? Like, what do I feel in my body? What's the kind of energy or what stress or pain that I can feel in my body when I'm being impatient? So I know for myself today, I have this very strange pain which I haven't had in quite a long time, sitting in my throat and in behind my heart and in the front of my body. It's this sort of constriction feeling. Feels like everything's really tight and tense, And I know exactly what it is. It's nothing that's wrong with me. It's not some disease or some affliction. It's my impatience and it's my stress. It's my stress response. So the body is a really good indicator of and first step to raising awareness. But so is asking the question. So it's really powerful for you to sit just for a couple of minutes and ask, where do I feel the impatience in my body? What does it look, feel like, smell and taste like? So we're giving it a sensory overlay and just know it. Don't have to do anything with it, but just know it. For now, we're just knowing it. So has there been a moment recently where you felt impatient and you were rushing? What did that feel like? What were you feeling in your body? Can you remember? Or if not, when you're feeling impatient next time, maybe it's with hubby, maybe it's with the kids, maybe it's with a colleague or yourself. You know, when you're trying to fix something or get something done and you keep getting interrupted. When you're impatient, just pay attention to it. Become aware of what's showing up for you. Then the next thing is that we're going to take responsibility for everything that shows up in our life. We want to own everything. You can only change yourself, and you can only change yourself when you take responsibility for that. So if someone's causing you impatience, what is it that you need to heal? Now, I always put a caveat around this one because I think it's important to say that we want to take responsibility for everything in your life because then you can change it. That doesn't mean taking responsibility for other people's bad behaviour. It does not mean we're taking responsibility for them or the way that they're behaving. Some people are just not very nice, not very clever, not very insightful or empathetic. And that's not what you're taking responsibility for. What you're taking responsibility for is the fact that it's showing up in your life. So it's not them and it's not their behaviour, but it's the fact that it's there in your life. Because I see that everyone and everything shows up in our life for a reason. And particularly if you listen and read Louise Hay or any of the other spiritual gurus, they will say the same thing. So everything's a lesson for us. And if you look at life like that, it's a lot easier to manage. Sometimes we got bombarded with lessons and that's not always fun, but it's definitely about taking responsibility for the fact that everything shows up in our life for a reason. So if a situation is making you impatient, ask yourself, why is it activating you? Don't blame. Don't, think it's somebody else's fault or get cross with the thing you're trying to fix. So for some reason, I've just had this very strong image pop into my head of a tractor being fixed with a spanner and somebody getting really cross with it and, blaming the tractor and calling all names under the sun to the tractor. Well, that's cool, but the tractor's shown up in your life for a reason. Maybe it's the lesson of of patience. Maybe it's another sort of lesson. But ask yourself, why is this happening? If you feel impatient, ask what the pattern is repeating. Or what pattern is this repeating? Have you seen this impatience before? Now, on our call the other night with the members, we all had a bit of a laugh because I asked the members what were, whether they were impatient with their husbands as well, or was it just me, or with their family members, and everybody had a bit of a giggle saying, yes, it's true. So I'm now really aware of that pattern in my life, and I know that it's been before, and so now I'm just going to be more conscious, take responsibility that for me, a pattern of impatience with my husband is very real. Even though he's the most extraordinarily patient person with me, I'm impatient with him. So I'm going to be more aware of it as it shows up, look at what the pattern is and ask myself what needs to heal. Blame is a really good way to listen out for you not taking responsibility. If you find yourself blaming someone or something else for what's happening in your life at that given time, it's likely you're not taking responsibility. So call yourself on it. Call yourself out on that behaviour and say, okay, no, now is the time to take responsibility. Let's look at this at its coalface and really know it for what the truth of it is. So think of an area in your life where you're currently impatient to your detriment. What are you going to do about it? So for me, it's very much the impatience I have around my husband. And it's not at anything in particular. it's just a general impatience. It's like all the frustrations of the day just show up as impatience towards him. It's not because he's doing anything or anything. It's just that I can be impatient with him, that I can't be impatient with others is what I feel, even though I know that that's not actually the truth. So I think it's about, if I can start to harness patience with him, then that will have a natural flow. So for me, it's about changing that belief that I can be patient, the belief that I can take my time, the belief that I can really be in the moment, and that it's safe to be in the moment. Those are the beliefs that I'm really going to start to work on. So as we know, if we work on the beliefs first, then we can start to cascade the outcome, and we'll start to see very different results. So again, it's about patterns. So we want to look for patterns. So are there things that just keep happening in your life around impatience? So for me, I know there's a lot of technology stuff at the moment. You know, there's just stuff not working or not happening quick enough or whatever. And I know that when I try and control it, it just gets worse. So I've really been trying to let it go a bit and just allow it to be right place, right time, right sequence. Don't try and push it and rush it. For instance, we had some issues with the website for the Festival of the Rural Woman. I was getting really stressed and impatient, but I just took the action that I knew I needed to take, and then that wasn't happening fast enough, even though I thought I'd solved the problem, and so I was getting impatient then, and then I just thought, what the heck, this will happen when it needs to happen. And of course, the minute that I let that go, it all happened and unfolded very easily without my doing, and we're back on track. So are there things that are happening in your life that you can see as patterns? Do you say or think the words, I just can't wait, or it's not happening quick enough, or it feels like it's taking forever, or they just don't get it? That's patterned impatience. And those are the things we need to start paying attention to. So the words we say, language, is about halfway down our waterfall. So we want to take ourselves back to the beginning and say, well, what are the beliefs that sit around that? What are the beliefs for me that sit around impatience? What's driving this impatience like an engine? Do you feel yourself rushing to decisions or pushing through? I know I do. Honestly, this is the virtue for me. This is the virtue I need to focus on so much, and it's been so good this month. But I know that I need to keep working on it. This month of patience for me has been the start, but I need to keep doing it. So what's one obvious pattern that you can identify for yourself, and how can you flip it from a negative to a positive? So how can you change your language? How can you see it differently? What do you need to do? What actions do you need to take in order to break that pattern? So again, for me, it's about calling myself out when I see the patterned impatience with my husband, apologising, forgiving myself for it, and then building a new pattern. So it's about that resilience. It's about being able to see it for what it is, call it out, and then take a new approach. So the detox is brilliant. And this is the same. All the virtues are going to have detox in them, because I just think detoxing the mind, body, spirit is so important. So this is when we get really clear on what we don't want. Right. So on patience, it's like write everything down that you're impatient with. I am impatient with, and just go to town. Things that piss you off, basically. If I can use that word, it's the stuff that really irks you. It's the stuff that really gets under your skin. It's like the things that drive you crazy. Is it the driving Miss Daisy lady that gets in front of you as you're in a hurry to go down the street? Is it the kids not putting their toys away? Is it that someone in the office has an annoying habit? Is there something that your husband doesn't do that drives you nuts? Like, what is it? This is your chance to go to town. Get a piece of paper out and just purge. You want to detox. We live in this toxic, overloaded system, our brain, our body, belief, and our mind. And the powerful process of just purging and getting it all out. Now, you could do this on paper, Or if you're a more oral, if you prefer to speak things, if you find it easier to talk, then just go out into the paddock, go out into a room, find a time when nobody's home, and just purge it. Just really let it free and allow yourself to liberate yourself from the stuff that's really sitting inside of you. Here is the list of things that really get under my skin. Universe, and go. It's honestly, this is such a liberating process. And you can see that it comes in the middle. So it's not about detoxing first. This is about awareness and looking at patterns and then giving ourselves some tools so that we can detox really, really well. Get it out of your body. You know, what are you impatient about your body on? What are you impatient about your mind on? Like, I know I'm studying forensic healing. I'm nearly finished, and I've got like 8 hours of case studies left, and I'm so impatient to get them finished. Part of me, and I can feel that in my body, and I can feel it in the rush, and you know, I'm like really I'm exhausting myself trying to do it because I want to get it done, and I just think, like, what's the point? You know, we've got time. If we believe we've got time, then there's no rush. So, but detox yourself on all of the areas: brain, body, belief, mind. What's going on? Get it out, the negative stuff. Purge and detox. So then we want to think, what is our desire? So we've just purged the negatives. Now we want to get clear on what we do want. So in regards to patience, what's the deepest desire of your heart right now? In what areas of your life do you want to be able to be patient? Do you want to invite the flow? Do you want to believe that you are in the right place at the right time doing the right thing? What's the deepest desire? And then you want to remain open and you want to breathe. What I didn't say before with detox is breath is so powerful. I was just reading a book on the plane yesterday about breathing meditations, and you know, tried a few of them while I was on the plane, and it's just sort of settling process. It's a great detox process. You know, sit quietly and breathe in the positive and breathe out the stuff you want to purge. So breathe in, I am patient, breathe out, impatience. Breathe in, patience, breathe out, impatience. Using the breath as a guide to detox what you don't want and invite desire is so powerful. So you want to be clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. And the best way I know to track this progress is just to keep a diary. I get people to do this with their food. I get it to do it with their mood. I get them to do it with their belief systems, with their negative self-talk, with everything. So keep a diary for a couple of weeks. And each time you find yourself doing something that is impatient, take a note of it. And then what is it that you actually wanted instead? So again, it's like keeping track, keeping accountable of yourself, but also getting clear on what it is that you really desire. What's the deepest desire of your heart right now? Become clear on that. But unless you're clear on it, nobody else can be clear on it. And it makes it very difficult for it to show up for you and to allow that flow. So then, of course, it's inspired action. So definitely at The Real Woman, we advocate for being more and doing less. And all of the previous ideas, awareness, responsibility, patterns, detox, and boundaries require that you be in order to unearth them. But they're completely useless to you unless you take action. So patience is not a passive experience. Patience is being in the moment actively. So patience is actually an active virtue if you think about it. So, but it's activity in a being way. So it's being clear about the outcome, it's being clear about the desire, it's being aware of the patterns and the belief systems that are driving them so that you can invite what it is that you really want. So that's the difference between action and doing and inspired action, which is coming from the being. And the being comes from doing the work beforehand. So the getting clear, the patterns, the purging, the detoxing, and then the desire, then formulating the desire. It's not the doing for the doing's sake. It's doing to create the life that you're really looking for and craving. So just choose one thing you can take action on today, and it may be that you're just going to start to become more aware of your impatience patterns. That's activity enough. That's being activity. That's focused awareness. That's consciousness that is you living in the moment, because if you're paying attention to how you're showing up in the world, you are in the moment. You're not just mindlessly saying or doing things. So think of something that you can do today that takes you a little step closer to this. Okay, so a simple patience process. I love these. And it's funny because when I wrote this webinar, which was about a week ago, I was, not a lot has changed actually between then and today, to be honest. It's been a pretty hectic few weeks. But when I wrote this a week ago, I was in total overwhelm. Like, I mean, the list was too long, everything was stacking up, nothing was working. So the thing that I needed the most, of course, was patience. And the thing I least wanted to do at the time was write a webinar on patience. But I did, and it was this process that really snapped me back. Because as I came to write it, I was thinking, all right, well, what advice would I give somebody else? That came to me and was in the state that I was in right then, and this is what I came up with. And so I applied it, and of course the whole world looked different very, very soon after. And you can see that in the slide. It says, I need this right now. No, seriously, I really, really do. My impatience meter is about to explode. That is absolutely 100% how I felt at the time. So this was very much an active process that I implemented immediately and took action on. First step is always to breathe. So you want to get that deep breath. We spend a lot of time shallow breathing in our throat. You want to be able to move the breath from your throat to your mid-body, eventually down into your stomach. So you're doing those big, deep lung breaths, and you can feel your whole body expand with those breaths. And we don't breathe those breaths very often, but now is the time to do that. So find yourself a space and big, deep breath in. Like, when I start to deep breathe like that, I yawn. And the yawning, and you may do this too, the yawning is actually the energy starting to move and shift. And when you get good at this, because of practice, you can actually shift your energetic state very, very quickly with breathing. So if you feel like crap with a very simple breath meditation, getting focused on the breath, moving the breath in and out and moving it down from your throat into your belly, you can actually change your state. And that's what we're wanting to do. So we want to breathe until we catch that big, deep breath. And there I go again. Then I want you to take a step back. Now, this is both literal and metaphorical. If you're driving listening to this, please don't take a step back. But you want to take a step back in your mind. And if you're standing or you're sitting and you can move to a place where you can take a step back, I want you to do it literally too. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stand up and do it myself. Because the literal movement backwards allows us to see the big picture. It's a physical reminder to our body that we're taking a step back so we can see the whole picture. The analogy that I love to use is to get up on the balcony. And this is something I learned many years ago in a leadership program, and it's stuck with me ever since, like 2001, I think I heard this. And it was in the context of leadership and community development, but it was about saying, get up off the dance floor. Get up off the dance floor of life where it's chaotic and it's hectic and everyone's pushing you and pulling you in different directions and you cannot see the wood for the trees. Get up on the balcony so you can look down. And so that's what we want to do next, is in our mind's eye and also literally in our body, we want to take a step back and start to see the whatever's going on for what it truly is, rather than what we think it is in the moment. And you want to whilst looking at that picture in your mind's eye, you want to ask, what am I trying to achieve? And be clear on that. And am I on track? And what do I need to do next? I can feel the energy moving for myself again. So what am I trying to achieve? Am I on track? And what do I need to do next? We just want the simple next steps. We want to bring ourselves to patience, which is being in the moment, and the breath guides us to the moment. We want to remain in the moment and take a step back. We want to see the vision for what it is. Then we want to get to the detail. We want to ask, what is it we're trying to achieve? Am I on track? And what do I do next? And then we want to breathe again, okay? So bringing ourselves back. Now we've got a bit more clarity. We bring ourselves back to the breath. And then we want to ask, why am I impatient? What do I, excuse me, there's so much energy moving. See what a breath does. It's just amazing. I have not yawned all day. It's just extraordinary to me. So why am I impatient? What do I need to heal? What do I need to heal is such a powerful question. It has compassion and love sat all around it. It is not what's wrong with me, it's you're an idiot, you should do it differently, don't you know any better? That's what we normally tell ourselves. What we want to invite is compassion and love. And what the question invites, why am I impatient? What do I need to heal? Is just oozing with compassion and love. What is it that I need help with? What is it that I need to work on? What do I need to heal in myself? What story from my childhood? What stories from yesterday? What impact has happened in my life that I need to heal it? And then the next question is, what mantra do I need to switch in my head? Now, this sometimes is not easy, and often where it's good to come to a journal, so it may take time. It is an easy process, but you may need to flesh it out a little, is what I mean. So what mantra is it that you need to switch in your head? So again, it's thinking patterns, all right? Now that I'm seeing the big picture for what it is, what were the things that I was saying to myself that were keeping me impatient, were keeping me in that stress and overwhelm? And what is the mantra? And then if you unearth the negative, you can find the positive. You can create the positive. So if there's never enough time, then the new mantra would be, there is always enough time to do what I want and need to do. If it's nobody seems to do it better than I do or as well as I do, then what's the new mantra? It may be that there are amazing people around me who are quite capable of delivering on what I need them to deliver on. So again, it's about what was the voice in my head, what was the negative critic, the mantra I was playing that kept me in this negative state, and what is it that I need to switch it to? And then breathe again. Breathe again. You want to take action. You want to take it slowly and patiently and with love. This is a simple process. You can do it in a few minutes. It doesn't have to be lengthy. You can make it lengthy if you choose to, but you can equally bring yourself to this process reasonably quickly so that you can then start to operate at a more patient, more productive, more capable level. It is seriously powerful. I just even feel more patient, more calm than I did before just by even speaking about it. So that's a really powerful, simple patience process. And the next thing to be thinking about is the patience mantra. So if you do find yourself stuck in that impatient cycle and in patterns of impatience, what you want to focus on is just a couple of simple mantras daily, 100 times a day if you need to. It says, being patient is easy when I'm focused on the present moment, and I am always patient with myself and others. That's it. If you can just say those things to yourself on a daily basis, or as you find yourself in an impatient state, you will start to shift everything. Because remember, we said if we start to shift our beliefs and our thoughts, we can start to change our outcomes. So we haven't talked about beliefs today here, but these mantras will change your thoughts, which will have that wonderful cascading effect of the waterfall. So being patient is easy when I'm focused on the present moment, and I'm always patient with myself and others. Very, very simple, but very, very powerful. It's a lot to take in, and I think patience is such a big thing. And what I definitely don't want to happen is for people listening to these webinars or to the video is to feel like they have to do this all today. One of the other wonderful virtues we talk about is simplicity. I think it's why we use the language of simplicity, the word simple. We want to keep things simple. So if you just take one thing from today and apply it, then you are changing your life. Even if it is just the simple mantra, so being patient is easy when I focus on the present moment, or I am always patient with myself and others. If you just say I'm always patient with myself and others 10 times a day at varying points, you will start to change your life. You'll have that waterfall effect. So don't feel like you've got to take action on everything, or don't feel overwhelmed with the content from today. Just allow yourself to take one simple message, one simple action, one simple new learning, one simple light bulb moment, and do something with it. Because doing from this space is very much an active process. It's not rushing around like Henny Penny or like a chook without a head. It is inspired action, and that's what we really want to talk, and that's what we really, really want. So I just wanted to share with you about the Rural Woman. So if you're already a member of the Rural Woman, you are amazing and we love you, and thank you so much for joining us on the blooming journey. It's been great to share experience with you. If you're keen to learn, and please stick around, we're just going to talk about the membership of the Rural Woman, which is a global community of rural women, empowering rural women to thrive, heal, evolve, and bloom where they're planted. So what is the membership? The membership is about sharing real conversation. It's a 1-hour mastermind conversation, very much like this, only a lot more interactive. So we choose the topic of the month, the virtue of the month, and we have a very active conversation about it. We ask lots of questions, we have lots of laughs, there's deep insight, there's moving experiences. It's a very wonderful mastermind conversation. It's the opportunity to connect with other rural women of like mind, and it's where you can ask the hard questions of leaders in their field. So at the moment, it's me that facilitates the webinar, the mastermind, but from time to time I'm going to be bringing in special guests as well so that we can have those ongoing conversations. The Rural Woman membership is about real connection. So we also have an online mastermind, which is the cup of tea when you run out of tea bags. It's the place where you can go to if you feel like crap and you need support, or you've had amazing win and you want to share it with some women you know that will just cheer you on from the sideline and be very excited for you. We also explore, of course, the virtue, and we ask questions and we challenge each other, and we post inspiring things to keep ourselves motivated. So it's a real opportunity to connect with like-minded rural women who are living experiences just the same as you are. It's where we can provide real inspiration. So it's action in your inbox. We send bite-sized, simple and effective, punchy how-tos, interviews, videos, etc. in your inbox. We carefully curate all of our content, and we try not to overload it, but we just keep it simple, but it is inspiring content. And in addition to the emails, which just come weekly, we also have an online hub. And in that online hub is so many wonderful resources about the virtues. There's also several programs that you can do, including money mindset programs. There's a program for business. There's a program called Return of the Sacred Self. There's a whole range of incredible resources at your fingertips 24/7. We love to work with our members. So we have inside scripts and exclusives. So for instance, we've just launched our You Are Enough workshop in Dubbo, which is completely free to members of the Rural Woman. That's like a $68 saving for that event. We are also working on incredible deals for V-Treats and Me Treats. We're working on opportunities to partner with other organisations to bring you amazing opportunities. But we also love to work with our members in the capacity that we can. So how do we collaborate with you as a member of the Rural Woman to share your message into a wider audience? How do we do joint ventures? How do we partner together to spread the message of what you're doing? We are connected in all sorts of ways, and we are so willing and able to share those resources. Just a couple of testimonials there. We're really proud of the support that we offer to our members, and it is given in full integrity and with full commitment and with a full passion for empowering rural women to bloom where they're planted. It's just $48 a month for all of that incredible opportunity to connect and be inspired and to grow your network and to be a part of something that is growing every week. And we're really excited, and we would love for you to join us. The membership is for you if you're an action taker and you're ready to involve, but it's probably not for you if you're stuck and unwilling to move or you're looking for a quick fix. We're definitely about evolution at the Rural Woman. We are all about thriving, healing and evolving, and the evolution is a really important part of it. We've got an exclusive early bird offer for webinar participants. So all people who join as members in the next 15 minutes will receive a 30-minute private coaching session with the Rural Woman, valued at $350 if you hop on now. So it's been an amazing month talking about patience, and I know for myself that having that singular focus, bringing myself back to that virtue is a really powerful tool. Don't forget your simple mantras. I am patient with myself and others all the time, and I can absolutely 100% recommend bringing yourself back to patience when you feel that surge of pain or stress or anxiety. Bring yourself back to patience every time. It's been an absolute pleasure to be joined by you today, and thank you so much for sharing in the bloom of the Rural Woman, and I can't wait to see you very, very soon. Take care, Rural Woman. May you bloom where you are planted.